he is a very strong player. So this is going to be a very interesting to see later on in the tournament. But right now, we have Otter and JetEriksen both in the lobby right now. JetEriksen with the tier 1 heavy lineup, as Otter goes for a more balanced lineup without any structures here. As we head straight into game number 1 on this water-filled map here.
Yeah, Otter kind of taking a mix of the build we saw last game between Xeno and the Gentleman, snagging these 3 tier 1s with tier 2 support and Uncle Butters, whereas the Gentleman is rocking the 4 tier 1s, followed by Snakes and Butters.
So this is a very interesting map indeed, because JetEriksen has a ton of room to build, but his options for expansion are a little bit too far away from him. But at the very least, it's also hard for Otter to actually contest it. In the meantime, Otter unfortunately does not have the water around him. He just has a lot of land to work with as well. So both sides, it's going to be a very interesting battle here. There's actually a land bridge to the to this north side of the map here, so neither side really has to take the water path.
Yeah, especially frustrating for JetEriksen if he is going to try to take these expands, if Otter decides to go ferrets. Normally this water is a really great natural defense, but in this case it would turn into the opposite, because ferrets would be able to siege those watery grist mills from a distance and kind of make life a little tough for Jet.
He's going to go for a very early attack. We were talking before how a lot of people are going for that 8-farm war. Not Jet. He's going for the 4-farm lizards here. And this is still the patch where that is still a pretty strong tactic here. Here we're going to take out 2 farms. Can he take out the 3rd?
Oh.
No, not quite yet. He needs 1 more.
Oh,
he takes it out. All right, there we go.
That was just a bit, maybe a bit of an overcommittal, but he did bring him down. It's 4 farms to 5 right now. I think that he probably should have called it quits after that, because though he did get that last farm, feeding in like, what was that, 3 or 4 more lizards than he needed to is going to even them out a little bit more than I think he was hoping.
I think that was about an even trade. Just taking a look at the army value real quickly here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So he had 5 lizards attacking. He lost 5 lizards for 3 farms, which is a pretty good trade. So honestly not a terrible thing for JetEriksen to lose those lizards at the moment here. As Otter unfortunately does have to recover a little bit. He is going to bring Toads into his arsenal at the moment here. But now he's starting to lag behind in terms of farms here, as he's switched to units in order to defend himself.
A lot of players get really worried about that secondary lizard follow-up, so sometimes when a lizard rush like that goes well, the player doubles down and brings even more, so he throws down some toads and says to himself, never again, and he tries to just slowly build up and repair his economy, but luckily for JetEriksen, he did not take that tactic, and indeed just busted up to 8 farms against 6 now.
And look at that Warren switch, just switching from lizards to squirrels immediately after that attack here, and that makes the toad choice for Otter just unfortunate here, as those toads are going to get picked off by the 9 squirrels that will soon be coming out for the side of JetEriksen. 6 squirrels on the side of JetEriksen. He's switched out completely himself. He's had to sell off the Toad Warren to get himself that 3rd Warren of squirrels for himself, but JetEriksen already has his units on the field and he's going to attack.
Moving in with these 6 squirrels, this is going to go pretty well as long as he stays careful, because defender's advantage here is huge with these Warren's health being so high. As long as he kind of picks his fights carefully, he might be able to get some damage done here.
He's trying to chip away at the Warren here, but he's actually losing too many squirrels in the meantime. Already losing about 2 or 3 squirrels, now a 4th, as he has to run his way back to his own side of the base, but this is just allowing Otter to pick off 1 or 2. At the very least, JetEriksen does have pigeons to help support himself, and Jet is also switching into skunks at the moment here to stave up the squirrel pressure coming out from Otter.
Otter deciding to take the long way across this water here and getting his squirrels kind of set up in this gristmill to maybe push up to the high ground, but decides better of it and heads back home. I'm wondering if we're going to see... Yeah, he's going to throw down a tier 2, because it's kind of getting to that point in the game where both of these players have to decide if they're going to continue to build up this one base army or if they're going to try to poke for an expand. And so it looks like both players opting to invest in their military and try to end the game.
And that early poke coming out from JetEriksen, unfortunately, is starting to lose its momentum here, as we see Otter just pounding his way into the side of Jet. But Jet does have high ground here, but he's also losing a bit number of squirrels here. He does finally have the skunk out here. So this is a very bad position for Otter to be in with his own units here, as the water is the worst position for you to be in when you're being surrounded by skunk gas.
I like this re-addition of the lizards here, seeing especially that the toads were coming out and that the toad numbers weren't that high. JetEriksen throws down a few lizards for this quick chase down force. That's the tough part when you've got swift units. Retreat becomes pretty much impossible.
And now he's just going to try to choke out Otter here, having his lizard and squirrel just frontline for this skunk. The pigeon supporting in the background, but the snake is up right now. The poison stuck on top of the skunk, and there's no more pigeon to help support it right now. He's going to try to do as much damage as he can with the last pigeon. Also sniped out, and that's the end of the skunk and the end of JetEriksen's attack here. So he's going to have to back up for the time being. But nice snake just in time to ward off this attack.
He almost held on to that skunk. It was just so close. You can't really target what units your pigeons heal, and so the skunk just kind of got ticked down, and a couple little squirrel shots ended up taking it down.
You can target pigeon healing.
You can? You can focus fire that? I had no idea.
Yeah.
Learn something new every day.
Well, unfortunately, Jet was unfortunately focus firing the enemy, so unfortunately the pigeons were just willy-nilly just healing whatever they saw first. All right, now we're gonna see Otter try to take this mill here, gonna take some damage as well, but that doesn't really matter to skunks who don't really target structures. This is actually really bad for Otter. He put too much money into that mill right now, and he's starting to get slowly choked out by these double skunks, making their way back onto the battlefield right now. It's making it very hard for Otter to actually position himself here. He's trying to snipe his way through with the snake, microing his way through right now, but the skunk's doing a lot of damage to his units so far and gonna escape for the time being. Just poking his way in and out. He is gonna lose the skunk to this poison stack though.
That's always a rough way to lose one. Heading back home, that damage over time eventually takes you out. But that was a pretty decent engagement coming out of JetEriksen there. That classic position where the skunk gas is all over your warrens just makes it really tough to engage with anything less than a tier 2 set of units because they die so quickly that gas. Another engagement here coming in with the squirrels on the low ground and snakes on the high ground, going pretty well for Otter. He's making a lot of work here with these snakes, and skunk is gonna be saved by a pigeon coming at the last second.
That was a really unfortunate toad proc for JetEriksen, losing his entire front line into that one toad explosion. And because of that, that's going to mean the death of this mill that JetEriksen was trying to put up here. And now, both sides, unfortunately, losing their first 4 initial mills. And Otter, having protected his expansion, is able to continue farming up. And JetEriksen is starting to face a starvation game very soon. Going to try to take another mill to take some damage as well as he gets some more territory for himself here. He does have the skunk across the water line to defend himself, so he is safe for a little bit. Has to be careful about the snake poking its way in and out from the sidelines, though. The snake also losing a lot of HP, but it's going to be trading out for the skunks at the same time here. Both the skunks losing their lives, and Otter going to be able to hold on to this for the time being. The JetEriksen also holds on to the mill, and both sides have to retreat back to their bases to wait for their units to respawn. Although JetEriksen actually sells off the skunk born instead.
These two players on almost even economy. JetEriksen did just go up to 5, but those farms are not done yet, so he's not actually making any money off of them, as Otter's going to push in here and just start poking away at this mill.
And JetEriksen, he has not had a successful attack ever since the first rush he had with his initial lizards, and now he's just losing out in pure numbers here, selling out the skunk so he can get some farms. He's a little bit greedy here as he's trying his best to keep this mill alive, but unfortunately too many stacks of poison coming out from the snakes eventually means it's going to die very, very soon. Just like that. And with it, Otter will take game number 1, holding out against the initial attack in attempts from JetEriksen, and eventually just holding out in his own in these fights from here on out.
Yeah, and that was really good patience out of Otter to not be too discouraged by the lizard push from JetEriksen, and just kind of I think snakes being so tanky made it a little bit harder for those skunks to be effective, because just a couple tags from them and those skunks will essentially be out DPS'd by the snakes. They'll die before they're able to get too much damage out onto that tier 1 ball of Otter. And you said it best, BTM. He just was not getting the upper hand on any engagement since that one at the very beginning.
And with that, Otter going to be able to stick with largely the same deck here. You're feeling very confident in himself with this upcoming match. And Jet, he's going to switch to the tier 1 play, it looks like, just choosing the tier 1s, although it looks like he might be thinking against Toads here for himself right now. And meanwhile, Otter is going to be switching out the ferrets for the skunks here. He has not been able to use the ferret last time, so seeing the pressure coming out for Jet, he might feel that skunks might be a better answer, just in case. But his snakes also did a very fantastic job of defending. Snakes
are just freaking good units. So JetEriksen just looking like he's hovering. I don't know if he's just kind of agonizing. He's really trying to decide his. He'd like to win this game, obviously, and he's down 1-0 right now. And here we go into game number 2.
A little bit of a more easier map for both sides to work with. We have Otter in the northwest side as JetEriksen situates himself in the south side. Now, a little bit of a problem with this map for JetEriksen, though, that he doesn't really have a safe mill to actually get for an expansion, and he has to contend with that high ground right in front of his base, so this is something where he has to be very smart about where he places his units initially.
Yeah, it looks like
he is going to put on the high ground.
Throwing down that initial spotting warren on the high ground is usually a pretty good idea because you can see some units coming, and as long as you've got the army to support it, the risk with doing that sometimes is if your opponent moves in with some early force, they might be able to just take that warren for free because it might be in range of that first corner pig, but overall your farms aren't going to be able to provide the usual defense they do.
It's usually okay to lose a warren as long as your units are still alive here. You'll still get that value from the army.
Right.
And because of how this is the patch where warrens got a 10 HP buff, so they are a little bit tankier. They can withstand most early rushes. This is why you saw last game JetEriksen went straight for the farms instead of trying to take down warrens.
Otter here deciding to go up to 8 farms before throwing down his first warren is probably going to pan out just fine. JetEriksen kind of sells. He's going to go for some early lizard aggression. So he must kind of be sniffing this in the water that Otter's going for a slightly more economic build and thinking maybe he's going to go for an early push with these 6 lizards. Do you think the timing's going to map out well for that BTM?
It's not the best timing for him. I think he just wanted to change out his tech a little bit. I don't think it was for the sake of wanting to rush out Otter because that switch happened a little bit too late for him to do much with it. Otter already has 2 warrens of units making their way through to the battlefield, so it's not going to matter too much in the end what JetEriksen can do in terms of rushes. So, I mean, at the very least, he's keeping up in farms, which is much more important at this stage of the game now, as both of them are trying to build up their unit army.
Yeah, and Jet's just kind of he's selling and building and selling and building again with these units, and he's kind of ending up with an even composition of 6 squirrels and 6 lizards against more standard 9 squirrel, toad, and pigeon combination coming out of Otter.
Otter just having the general spread of units to deal with anything that JetEriksen throws is a very nice spread to face off against what JetEriksen is currently bringing to the table. He is going to try to play a bit of a turtley game here, putting the machine gun nest on the high ground here. It does make me wonder if he's going to go straight for a fox rush.
He does look like he's kind of posturing for that. This is kind of a common thing.
Yeah, he's definitely going for that. He's going as far as he can, waiting for that 180 food to tick, and there it is. The fox is going to be coming out for the side of JetEriksen here. And this is a unit, it got its vision nerfed a little bit, but a lot of people still say it's a very strong tier 3 in this patch. So it's going to be very interesting to see what Otter will do in response. He does have a fox of his own, but he's going to go for an economy game instead, finding the very hidden northern mill for himself.
And is Otter going to be able to get in there and see it? He's going to try to make a poke, but it's not quite enough. That DPS takes him out.
There is a reason you put the machine gun nest there, is that you just prevent anyone from scouting your side of the map.
And so I think Otter's got to know that something's up. A lot of times you don't just kind of throw down these defensive structures super willy-nilly unless you're going for some sort of turtley strategy. And usually turtles expand or get tier 3s out. And so I'm thinking he's going to be a little bit wise to this, but we'll see how he decides to react. Right now, kind of banking up some food of his own. Looks like he's going to throw down snakes. So usually pretty good response to fox, especially if the player has no or less pigeons.
And the big problem is that JetEriksen has no clue that the mill is in existence, I believe. So if we take a quick look at the viewing, he has no clue there's even a mill up there. He hasn't gone out of his way to go up there to investigate. So Otter will get that mill for free, and his economy is going to be soaring at this point, enough to just get the number of units needed to just stop the fox from doing too much damage. And here we go, the fox is out for Jet. He's going to make his way forward with it. How much damage will he be able to do with it? What?
It kind of all comes down to that. I mean, for any new players tuning in, the tier 3 units cost 180 food and their warrens cost 180. So this is about a 360 food investment here from JetEriksen. So he's hoping to probably make about that much at least before this unit really starts being valuable for him. But in the pressure and zoning that it provides, it definitely gives him the opportunity to do exactly what he just did, which was take that mill and possibly get a good econ to match Otter's.
Yep, he's trying to target his way onto that snake. Luckily, the snake does have the help of 4 pigeons supporting it. And 2 snakes are now out on the battlefield for Jet, so he has to be a little bit careful. He's actually going for a double fox? Okay, I was like, double fox is not that great.
Yeah, their targeting just doesn't pan out that well. So Otter's going to move out here with this force.
Toads, though, they're threatening a lot of the frontline units. Unfortunately, it doesn't have a good landing here. And the pigeon's starting to support the side, taking out the snake poison here. The snakes are still alive for the side of Otter, but he has 2 more on the way. But JetEriksen also putting down his own. But he loses the fox! He forgot where the fox was, and the fox just dies!
There weren't any pigeons around. I don't think he could have saved the fox in that case. The pigeon was just a little too late to the party there, and that fox dies to some snake ticks.
now that's a huge loss for Jet. Unfortunately, he's on 4 farms. He's on a scarce amount of units. He does have some snakes out on the battlefield, but Otter just has pure numbers right now here as he's barreling his way down this hill here. Right now, just poking his way at the Warrens here. Nothing contesting the snake damage on the side of Otter. He is going to lose. No, not even. That snake on low HP going to be rescued by the Pigeon Force. And right now, so much damage is being done against JetEriksen. He can't do anything about all this poison damage stacking on top of his Warrens right now. Just slowly but surely wearing at him away. He's focusing, he's banking on this Fox to come out in 5 seconds, but I don't even think that's going to be enough for him right now, as finally the mill is going to be attacked, and that's going to be game.
That is the downside. The Fox is only really good as this like hit and run poke unit, because they hit really hard with their one shot, but they can't take out an entire army. And so that's usually the counter to Fox is having an army usually.
And with that,